Romanesque Architecture, Basics of a Cathedral. The Romanesque stonemasons had a number of important problems to solve in each project they attempted, but they boiled down to these: maximizing floor space and lighting the large interior space. Floor space needed to be maximized to accommodate the variety of liturgies being performed within each building. Though today we often think of these large masonry buildings as places of quiet and contemplation, during the Middle Ages these were vivacious, bustling centers of religious activity and ritual. Throngs of people passed through, performing a variety of acts and rites. Large congregations needed to be accommodated. A large nave area was considered a good solution. Complicated processions and a variety of saint and relic cults needed to be accommodated as well. Increasingly complex ambulatories and apse areas were offered as a solution. Thus, floor plans became increasingly complex. Then these spaces needed to be lit. Torches and candles are smoky, inefficient light sources. The answer was to increase the piercing of the walls with windows. Thus, the size of the clerestory became increasingly important. What technologies could be used to achieve these goals? One of the most important technologies was the use of masonry vaults. By using masonry, the building was less likely to burn, a common problem in an environment filled with the use of candles and incense, while stuffed with wooden furnishings and a large number of draperies. But it also allowed for taller ceilings and larger clerestories, while allowing for larger uninterrupted nave space, as well as complex ambulatories and aisles. These large masonry structures are basically modular in design, dictated by the vaulting. Masonry vaults are heavy, but the point of them is to take the weight or load off the wall so that it can be pierced for windows and doors. Instead, the load is channeled into masses of masonry called piers. The vaults thus sit upon these piers. To aid the walls and piers in taking the weight of the stone ceiling, you add masses of masonry to the pier or wall at intervals. These masses are called buttresses. A single unit of a vault and its piers, with the floor space, is called a bay. To create a nave, you build several bays, with the apse at the eastern end towards Jerusalem and the rising sun, and a facade or entrance on the west end. The nave is the central space, flanked by the aisles. When a devotee entered the church, they entered through the west facade, which often held a market, and into the entrance area called the narthex, and then moved into the nave. Alternatively, many pilgrimage churches, such as the Church of Santiago de Compostela, used the north and south doors of the transept for entry, and then the pilgrim moved in a circuit along the many altars and relic shrines in the transept and aisles. The larger spaces were then screened to form smaller spaces. A few medieval screens in wood and stone survive. However, the nave was usually divided off from the aisles not by walls, but by draperies. The aisles and transept would then be divided into small chapels, also by draperies, often emphasizing the bays. A stone or wood screen would then stop the general devotee from the apse area, which was only open to the priests of the church. To accommodate more people and processions, a masonry church often had two occupied levels. The ground level or arcade was the first floor. The central nave is usually open to the full height of the church, but the side aisles would be topped with a second floor called the gallery. Above the gallery level was the clerestory, which lit the nave. In a Romanesque cathedral, the gallery is actually an inhabitable and usable space. Many of the experiments in vaulting and floor plan we see in Romanesque churches are really attempts to solve the problems of floor space and light. The great barrel vaults of the Romanesque naves replaced the flat wooden ceilings and opened the clerestory to allow more light. Groin vaults allowed for increased wall piercing. These innovations answered the needs of church communities by providing appropriate architectural spaces to experience the worship and ideas of the Christian faith. As those ideas shift, so too do the designs of these masterpieces of masonry.